Hello, everyone. So, yesterday I was working in the backyard, pulling out some weeds, and I was taking them out so I can let the grass grow, and then I can cut it, and then I can have a nice, clean backyard, right? And then this thought hit me. What if my backyard is not just a place that I have fun and I can relax at, but it's rather a representation of my life? What if the weeds that are there are not just those nasty plants that I have to take care of, but they're rather those bad thoughts and bad actions that I'm committing? And what if those weeds are choking up the good grass that it's supposed to grow and look nice for everyone to enjoy? Which would be the good actions and the good thoughts in my life. What if? And then the parable of the sower came to mind, and especially that part that says, and then the other weeds or thorns choked up the seed, and it couldn't grow any further. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly it. My life is that backyard. And what am I gonna do about those weeds that are choking up the grass? Then I looked into Matthew 13:24-30, where it speaks about what will happen if I let those weeds overcome my life and become the only thing that I have in it. And it goes like this. He put another parable before them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared also. And the servants of the master of the house came and said to him, 'Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds? How?' He said to them, 'An enemy has done this.' So the servants said to him, 'Then do you want us to go and gather them?' But he said, 'No, lest in gathering the weeds you root up the wheat along with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the harvest time I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn.'" So how I saw this passage was that if I let those sinful thoughts overcome my life, I will become just a full backyard of weeds. And as we just heard in that passage, the weeds, well, they'll be thrown in the fire at the time of harvest, which can pretty much easily be referred to as hell. At the time of harvest, well, that's when we die. That's when we go in front of God and we get judged for our actions. So if I let those weeds grow, all my life is going to become one big weed that's going to be thrown in the fire. And believe me, I don't want that. So how do I, or should I say, how do you and me get rid of all those weeds? How do we make our lives just a beautiful garden, a beautiful backyard that people can enjoy and look up to? Well, the first thing that I would do when I go to the backyard would be to identify. So I would identify which one is grass, which one is weeds. Because I don't want to get rid of the grass, I want to get rid of the weeds. So the first thing would be identify. Identify what is the weed in your life. What thoughts are growing and they're not good? What actions are growing and they're not that good? For example, you would ask yourself, was that the right way that I should have reacted in this situation? I know it's not very specific, but yeah, would that my reaction would be the right thing that was done in the given situation towards the other person, of course. Then the second point would be to ask God for help. Now, when I was doing when I was taking out the weeds, I was not asking God before each weed. God, is that a weed or is that not a weed? No. But in our lives, in our actions and thoughts, it's good to ask God, God, is that something, is there something, or is that specific thing something that I should get rid of, that I should pull out of my life? So it would be to ask God for help. And by pulling it out, to determine if that is the one that pull it out, then God help me to pull it out. And the last point would be to do the work. There is work involved. I had to go down and pull those weeds out. So you and I also have to pull those things out of our lives. And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes bad habits, bad attitudes, and bad thoughts can be hard to get rid of. But I believe that with God's help, we can do it. You and I can do it. Before we wrap up today's devotional, there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about. It would be that when you pull out a weed in your life, in my life, there would be an empty spot, an empty space in the place of the weed, where the weed was. And it's really up to you and me to figure out what we're gonna put in there. Are we going to let another weed grow, another bad actions or another bad habit develop, or another bad thought give fruit to bad actions? Or are we gonna decide that a godly one would take its place, some good grass in this whole metaphor? So today, what kind of weed are you gonna get out, and are you gonna replace it with a good grass or another weed? See you next time.